To unpack this a bit more further, we're now joined by Thembisa Fakude, Director at Africa-Asia Dialogue, and he joins us via our video link for more on this conversation. Thembisa, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. Today, Rwanda commemorating 30 years since that Rwandan genocide we saw in 1994. Just taking a look back at the country and how far it has come. What is your take on how far the country has come?
I think the country's come quite far, and there's been some good progress. I mean, Rwanda has gained reputation for having some of the, or at least Kigali being one of the cleanest cities in Africa, and the economy has seemed to have stabled over the past couple of years since the genocide in 1994, and the intra-tribal relations have also normalized. The Rwandese people don't call themselves, in fact, it's a crime to call yourself a Hutu, a Tutsi, or any other smaller tribes. They all call themselves Rwandese since that genocide occurred. So there has been also the cohesion, social cohesion that has been encouraged and fostered by the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. But having said that, they've also had challenges of the overstaying in power of Paul Kagame. He's been in power since 1996, which is quite a long time, and he seemed to be wanting to continue with leading the country, which some of the people, of course, have criticized him for leading the country to stagnation, particularly on other economic possibilities and political development, because there has been a lot of dissent. And we've seen people being killed outside Rwanda, particularly those that disagree with the president.
Let's also look into the bilaterals that were held between the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, as well as President Cyril Ramaphosa. I mean, if you heard there in that clip, they had really quite extensive talks between the two presidents, and of course discussing various issues and challenges faced by the two countries, particularly dealing with issues around travel and visas.
Yes, the relationship has not been warm between South Africa and Rwanda, because I think Rwanda, notwithstanding its size of economy in the country, they've seen themselves as a competition to South Africa. We saw what happened when the peace keeping missions were sent to Mozambique, both of the SADC and the Rwandese peacekeeping mission. Rwanda was the first one to be in Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado, when they tried to push back the Islamic insurgents in that country, and Africa leading, or South Africa leading the SADC mission, was caught off guard and was second arrival in Mozambique, making Kigali or Rwanda the main protector, in inverted commas, of Mozambique. So there's been that competition. We know that currently the forces of South Africa are in Congo, in the DRC, and there again they are fighting what is suggested by many reports as the M23 supported by Rwanda, and that has again not been a easy relationship between South Africa and Rwanda. We regard that, or many people have regarded that, as a proxy war between Rwanda and South Africa, one trying to assist the country, DRC, and the other one, of course, the M23 fighters being assisted by Rwanda. So there's been some tense relationship, and hopefully these initial steps that the talks that took place today are nothing but initial steps towards mending fences and mending relationships between South Africa and Rwanda.
And let's touch on what you've already spoken about, the M23 Rebels, and what Paul Kagame has been accused of in aiding the M23 Rebels. And we heard President Cyril Ramaphosa saying there that there needs to be a peaceful political solution. What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, it means that the Rwanda must stop supporting M23 and allow the Democratic Republic of Congo to heal from its past social political woes. And hopefully, if Rwanda does withdraw, you might just see a DRC recovering from its past. But at the moment, as long as we've got this sponsored terrorist organization in the form of M23 continue to threaten the stability in the DRC, you are not going to have a stability. And I think that's what President Cyril Ramaphosa is trying to push. But at the same time, South Africa is not winning what it went to the DRC to try and achieve. We have had casualties. People have been killed, particularly soldiers from South Africa who are there at the moment. So the situation is tense, and I think the South African forces that are in DRC are not well supported nor equipped to continue with this war or pushback of the M23. And I think Cyril Ramaphosa is looking at cutting his losses and getting out of the DRC as soon as possible, because that's getting a bit messy at the moment. So the sooner the South African forces are back in South Africa, the better for South Africa. And I think that's what these initial talks are now aiming at achieving.
And you talk about a tense relationship between the two countries, being South Africa as well as Rwanda, of course, touching on the issue around the DRC and, of course, the M23 rebels. At the same time, the president of South Africa choosing his words very carefully and saying that they are rekindling and they are rebuilding this relationship between these two countries, being Rwanda and South Africa. When it comes to rebuilding this relationship, how possible is it?
I think it's possible, but there's also a lot of outside influences that have fueled the tension between South Africa and Rwanda. It's not only the current conflict in the DRC that has caused tensions. As I've said earlier on, you have the ongoing attempts by the Rwandese forces and the SADC forces led by South Africa in Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado, trying to push back the Al-Shabaab forces there. So even there, it's a competed terrain. Each force is trying to prove its might and trying to prove that it can do a better job. And all of them are serving different masters, in inverted commas. We know that Rwanda is there for its own mission, and South Africa-led coalition under the banner of SADC is also having its own mission in Cabo Delgado. So there are two fronts at which South Africa and Rwanda are sort of competing or engaged. One is in the DRC and one is in Mozambique. And I think both of them are costing both countries a lot of resources. It's not a very cheap exercise, notwithstanding, of course, that in Mozambique they seem to be fighting the same enemy. But that has polarized in the DRC. So both countries are investing quite a lot of money, both in the DRC and in Mozambique. And I think they're now at a point where they will try and reduce and cut the losses by pulling the forces back to their respective countries. And I think these talks are also aimed at doing that.
Mr. Fakude, thank you so much for that insight and your contribution. That is Thembisa Fakude. He is the Director for Africa-Asia Dialogue, just giving us his insight there when it comes to the commemoration there for 30 years since the 1994 Rwandan genocide.